The moon shone bright in the night sky, and the bitter cold did nothing to dampen the Christmas spirit here at the North Pole. Within the great workshop of Santa Claus, the elves were hard at work building toys for all the good boys and girls. Amidst the ordered mass of conveyor belts, wrapping stations, and every other bit and bolt, which kept the workshop running, Head Manager Kringle was carrying out a routine status check on each department, skillfully avoiding the dozens of scurrying worker elves and all manner of obstacles with an agility born from centuries of experience.
Let's see. Already reviewed disposal, truck assembly, the doll department. Up next is wrapping. Speaking of which, how are things looking, Jingles?
An elf of smaller stature, tangled up in a mess of wrapping paper, waddled into view and sounded off in response.
All good over here, boss. One of the stations had a malfunction, but we are still on schedule. That's always good to hear. Christmas is too close for us to fall behind now. And can someone help him out of that?
As two other elves moved to help Jingles out of the wrapping kerfuffle, the incident reminded Kringle of the new intern, who had a tendency of bumbling into situations like this. Speaking of which, the idiot seems to have gotten lost again, a development which caused him to sigh in annoyance. At this rate, he might fall behind schedule. Fortunately, though, it seemed another search wasn't necessary, for said buffoon was already running towards him, managing to avoid running into anyone despite his clumsy approach.
Sorry, boss. Got caught up in the crowd back in Sorton.
Kringle would have been inclined to believe him, were it not for the distinct sight of pastry crumbs on the elf's face, which he picked off in a disappointed manner.
I've already told you, buddy. The snack bar is for breaks. Now, come on. We gotta keep this schedule. So if you fall behind again, you'll be transferred to Reindeer Waste.
Of all the times for the wind to kick up, it had to be as he made it to inbound delivery. Though it was concerning that even the sled dogs were getting bothered by the weather, letting loose a series of agitated groans and howls. And the Foreman Frost's report was not assuaging his concerns. We've never had a storm get this bad before. At this rate, Christmas might end up delayed if not cancelled entirely.
Nonsense. I'm sure this storm is just a fluke. We'll just ride it out and it'll clear out by Christmas. I'm positive.
The foreman remained skeptical in the face of Kringle's hesitant tone, but could not comment on it before a thunderclap sounded off, sending Buddy into a panicked frenzy.
That was a gunshot! We have to warn everyone!
Kringle was quick to respond with sudden annoyance.
Oh my claws, that was just thunder!
They're coming for the presents!
Oh, for Frosty's sake!
The head manager quickly grabbed the panicking fool and proceeded to slap him across the face before speaking again.
Get a hold of yourself! It was just a fluke of the weather! There is nothing going on to warrant...
He was interrupted by a sled dog handler who was looking outside through a window.
There's some people coming!
Kringle, though just as surprised as the others, had a feeling things around here were going to get far more interesting than he'd like. The workshop's population had effectively doubled over the past few weeks, but things have otherwise not changed much. In fact, many of the elves were joking that this just added a new department, which frankly spoke volumes of how quickly and smoothly they could accommodate these new refugees. The one thing Kringle and everyone else could certainly do without was the frequent raids which had plagued the North Pole as of late. And with Big Man Claus refusing to work any day other than Christmas, the elves were forced to take matters into their own hands, starting production of weapons and training members of the newly established Christmas Militia. Said militia was being led by Foreman Frost due to his actions against a small band of raiders tied to a tax agency. He couldn't help but chuckle at the fact that those bullies thought they'd kowtow to their demands, but it was also a cause for concern. For if more off-worlder groups began to think they could just march in and take what they wanted, one who could do so just might try. So the militia and workshop defenses underwent a massive expansion, which he was currently inspecting. Despite the present winter winds throwing snow around, he could clearly make out the lines of trenches, gun emplacements, and other fortifications. An impressive array largely credited to a human engineer named Eatos Numi, who had come to the workshop with the first batch of refugees. Said human was currently conversing with Foreman Frost.
That should be the last one. We can't establish further defensive works without stretching the lines too thin. I'm confident that these will hold. Your assistance is greatly appreciated. Without you, we'd be nowhere near as prepared. You flatter me. However, we have to be able to prepare for the worst. I learned that lesson the hard way against the Red Army. No matter. If baddies decide to attack us now, we'll be ready for them.
As they conversed, Kringle couldn't help but notice something in the distance. Or rather, someone. A group of around 5 figures, massive in form, wearing armor that was a combination of reds and pinks, with a fair amount of skin exposed, as if unaffected by the cold. Most terrifying of all was the vicious axes and other melee weapons which they wielded. It would seem the foreman's claim was about to be tested. I realize it is a bit late, but Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. If you enjoyed this video, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing. And if there's anything you'd like me to cover next, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.